Hello my dear students, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are going to learn class 9 English poem The Grass is Really Like Me's question and answers. Yes students, we are here with the part 1 of the question and answer session, and we have already seen the explanation of this poem in my earlier video, and the link of that video will be shared in the description for your convenience. You can have a glance of the whole video explanation. Now let's move on to the question and answers. But students, before that, if you are viewing my video for the first time, to subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get the notifications of my all the videos, so that you never miss anyone. And do watch the video till end. And if you like it, hit the like button and share with your friends too. Okay, students. So let's move on to the question and answers. So we have comprehension. Under that C1, read the poem silently and answer the following questions after discussing your response in pairs or in groups. This is how it's mentioned in your textbooks. So let us discuss the question and answers one by one. The first question is, what does the poet mean by the phrase raise its head? So before the question answer, students have already seen in this poem that the poet is the lady poet who is trying to compare the life of a woman folk with the life of a grass. How she has related, how she has used metaphorical touch in the poem we have seen. You can go through the explanation of video once again for your for clearing your doubts, students. And so here from that poem we have a phrase, raise its head. So you have to write, what does the poet mean by that phrase, raise its head? So the answer is, by this phrase the poet means the feeling getting formed in women to become independent. Okay, so when we go to the poem, we find that in the whole poem the poet is trying to compare her life as to with the grass, and how the grass is not allowed to raise its head or grow above. In the same way, the woman folk is also not allowed. So that feeling of getting formed, the poet means the feeling getting formed in women to become independent. Even the woman wants to raise, even she wants to become an independent person in the world, in the society. So that feeling when she gets and she is coming up with that independent feeling, that is known as raise its head. So at that circumstance the poet has used this phrase. I hope you have made it clear, students. So in the simple words you can write, by this phrase the poet means the feeling getting formed in women to become independent. Okay, next question. Explain the phrase unfurl underfoot to fulfill itself. Again, this is a phrase in the poem when you go through the poem. So, what does this mean? So it means the blade of grass tries to grow despite being trampled upon. In the same manner, a woman tries to carve her identity or become independent despite being stifled repeatedly. So again, when we go to the poem, we come to know that the grass, the each grass, when it tries to grow, in spite of being trampled and cut down again and again by the owners, by the landowners, by the land mowers, it doesn't stop growing. It tries to grow again. So in the similar manner, the woman also tries to carve, to design her identity, to sculpture out her identity in the society, or she wants to become independent despite she has been stifled repeatedly, means she has been pressurized, she has been made to live in a suffocated environment again and again. But even then, she is not losing the hope. She's again trying to become independent. She's again having that curiosity, and she carves to make her own identity in the society, despite being pressurized and stopped from raising from the other folk. So this phrase is explaining that particular meaning. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Refer to the lines 4 and 5. Are they contrasting? Which one do you think is the poet referring to? So you have to go to the poem. If you have a textbook, you can refer, or you can go to the earlier video, students. They are in 4 and 5 lines. What does it refers, and are they contrasting? So answer is, line 4 talks of the woman made to feel ashamed of her being woman, and line 5 talks about the forcible submission of a woman by men. Okay, so first we'll see first half. So the fourth line, that is talking about the woman who are made to feel ashamed of being a woman. Okay, like they are being said that you are not a good cause because you have born as a woman. So this talks in the fourth line, and this information you get in the fourth line of the poem, and in the fifth line it talks about the forcible submission of a woman by men. Like there is one more folk which is trying to be a superior authority, trying to be a superior authority and try to rule the women folk, and they're trying to make them be submissive. They're forcing them to be submissive and be inferior to them. And so this is the talk which we come to know from the fifth line. So fourth and fifth line are giving us this information, and yes, they are contrasting, they are opposite to each other. And the poet refers more to the second thought, means the fifth line, that is forcible submission of a woman by men, how men are forcing for women not to become independent and be inferior to them, below them. So this is the more preferred or the referred line by the poet. And she feels that woman by herself is never submissive, but it is men who make her become one. So women will not at all think to be inferior and be under somebody else, but she is forced to do that by the men folk. So because of that, she is forced to be submissive. Okay, so this is the answer for this question. Let's move on to the next one. The poet is associating herself with the grass. Why? When she says me, is she referring to just herself or the entire women folk? So let's see the answer, students. So whenever the grass grows, the lawn mower mows it down to the ground level, not allowing it to raise its head. Again, as we know, the whole poem here is referred to the life of the grass and is compared to the woman's life also. So here again, grass example is given that whenever the grass grows, again the lawnmower is no one but a person who cuts the grass with the help of machine, with it or with the help of a weapon when it starts growing, when it starts becoming big. So wherever the grass grows, the lawnmower never let it to grow. It just comes and level it to the ground level. So in the same way, a woman is not allowed to assert his her individuality but is stifled by men. So, in the similar manner, if we compare, if we see, a woman is also not allowed to raise her head, to make her identity in the society, to be independent, and to be individually identified. But in spite of this, instead of this, they are being stifled, they have been suffocated, they have been suppressed by men. So, this is what the poet tried to say here. And when the poet says me, she does not talk only about herself, but she talks of the entire woman folk, because she knows the situation of the entire woman folk is the same as what she is undergoing. So here me means she is resembling the whole woman folk, the entire woman folk. Okay, so you can write this answer in this manner. Moving to next question. Do you think the lawnmowers are the same in the case of the grass and the poet? So here when we say lawnmowers, the one who cut the grass or the one who is not allowing to raise something, is it same in the case of grass and in the same of poet? Means for the women folk. So let's see the answer. While the actual lawnmowers mow down the grass to the ground level, the metaphorical lawnmowers or the men stifle the freedom of women by keeping them submissive. Okay, so the answer is like, actually we know the lawnmowers, they mow down, they cut down the grass to the ground level, they do not allow them to grow. In the same way, metaphorical lawnmowers, metaphorical is resembling. Okay, so in the same way, if we resemble the lawnmowers, that is the men folk for the women, lawnmowers for the women, those are the men folk. They stifle the freedom, they curb the freedom, they do not allow the freedom of a woman to grow or to come up. So they keep them by forcing them to be submissive. So if we compare, if we see this, we can say that both are same in the case both are similar, you can say, in the life of the grass also, in the life of the poet, or in the life of a woman folk also. So this is how you can write the answer here. Moving on to the next one. Pick out the line from which the poet shifts the attention from grass to women. Who is the you in the line 11? So you have to pick out the line from the poem, students, wherein you get the attention that poet is trying to grab the reader's attention from grass to women. She's trying to explain the life of the grass, how it has been cut down, and slowly she is resembling with the life of woman. So you have to pick out that line, and who is the you in the line 11? You have to mention that. So answer is the level woman down to. To level woman down to. This is a line given in the poem. So this line, if you read it, you come to know that the poet is shifting the attention from grass to woman. To level woman down to. Okay, like they are getting the level of woman down. And the word you in the line 11 refers to men in general who try to stifle the independence of women, right? So in the line 11, the word you is referring to the men folk, the entire folk who is trying to stifle, to curb, to pressurize the independence of women. They do not want the women to live independently. So that you word is referring to the men folk in this poem. Okay. So let's move on. What does the phrase scorching defeat refer to? What does the poet mean by the words grafted onto the earth? So again, here you are having a phrase in the words. You have to write what does the poet mean by it. So the phrase scorching defeat means the feeling of helpless disillusionment a woman feels when a man tramples on her individuality and independence. Okay, so the first phrase scorching defeat means the helplessness of a woman when she feels that when a man is trying to curb her individuality and independence, when he's trying to behave as a superior person and be above the woman. The when the men folk are not allowing the women to come up or make their own identity individually, at that time a kind of helplessness what they feel, that is known as scorching defeat. Though they want to go up, they are being defeated, and because of force and because of superior folk over there. Okay, then by grafted on earth, the poet means that women have to remain as people without any importance in the society, like dried stalks of straw thrown in the corner. Then grafted on earth, here poet is using this words or this phrase to say that the woman have to remain, even though she is undergoing, the woman folk is undergoing this kind of problem, they have to remain on the earth and without having any importance in the society of their own, of their independent, of their individuality, like a dried stalks of straw thrown in a corner. Again, when the grass is dried, it becomes a stalks, and it has been thrown as a useless in a corner of the road or somewhere else. So even the woman folk has to live without importance in the world, in the society. Though she is trying to come up, she is not being allowed to do so. So by this phrase or this word, the poet meant this. Okay. Moving on to next one. What is the poet trying to tell us in lines 18 and 19? So you can go to the poem for this, for the lines. And the answer is the poet says that when women try to assert their individuality, they are ruthlessly subdued and have to meekly obey the men. By losing their independence, they become living dead. From grass, they turn into straws. Okay, so again, the poet says that when women try to assert their individuality, when they want to come up, when they want to raise in the society, they want to make their own identity, they are ruthlessly subdued, they are mercilessly pressurized, and they have to meekly, forcibly obey the men, and they have to be submissive. So by losing their independence, they become living dead. Though they are living, they are like a dead body because they don't have their independence. So now they're turning from a grass into a straw, from a fresh grass to a dried straw, which is just a useless thing. So this is how poet trying to explain the feeling. Moving on to the next question. But neither the earth's nor woman's desire to manifest life dies. Explain the meaning of the above lines. So there is a line stating in this manner in the poem. What does it mean? So answer is, in spite of the grass being mowed repeatedly, it continues to grow. In the same manner, how many ever times a man tries to stifle the independence of a woman, she continues to strive for it. So at the end of the poem, we come to see that, in spite of the grass being mowed repeatedly, you have seen that many a times the more the grass cutter comes and cut the grass, but on that ground you see the grass again continuing to grow. So in the similar manner, however times a man tries to pressurize the independence of women to curb it, but women are not going to stop. She is still going to continue to strive for it, work hard for it, and she is going to achieve it. Okay, students, so here we come to an end with the first main of the question and answers. And this poem is being set in such a situation, in such a era where women were really very much submissive to the men folk. And today, at least, we have a much of freedom in the society. So this is based on that particular era. So the poet is trying to share her feelings along with the other women folks here. So I hope I have made it clear with the first main of the question and answer. Students, we'll be back soon with the next main of the question and answers in my next videos. And do like the video if you liked it. Thank you for watching it.